Later this morning, the doctor who first blew the whistle on human rights abuses in residential schools will be honored. Here was the scene in Ottawa last night to remember Dr. Peter Bryce and specifically his contributions. A public health official tasked in 1904 with overseeing the health of Indigenous children in residential schools. He was troubled about what he found and spoke out. Here's Olivia Stefanovich.
100 years ago, Dr. Peter Bryce walked into a publishing house in Ottawa with a manuscript. It was called A National Crime, detailing atrocities at residential schools, particularly high rates of illnesses and deaths among Indigenous children. The federal government ignored Bryce's recommendations, but his work hasn't been forgotten. In fact, people are gathered at the cemetery where he's buried to hear about his research today. And they're unveiling a plaque in his name on the second National Day for Truth and Reconciliation.
The lesson from history we need to draw from Dr. Bryce is that when the headlines die, the children do too. That is our opportunity today. When we see headlines of murdered, missing Indigenous women and girls, or the government not obeying court orders to fund First Nations children properly, or if they're fighting survivors of St. Anne's Residential School in court, we cannot turn the page because public pressure makes all the difference.
The First Nations Child and Family Caring Society is paying for the plaque. It will be installed in front of the very publishing house that released his work.
I think it's a really great step towards Canadians really understanding the truth of what happened during the residential school systems. I'm really looking forward to more plaques and more memorials and statues that really remind Canadians of this history.
Every time there's an opportunity to put something in a public place, in a public space, that either answers questions or provokes questions about what we know or have not known about our country, I think that inches us forward. It inches us forward to a deeper way of understanding ourselves as a country.
The plaque is meant to serve as a reminder that the government and Canadian public knew about human rights abuses at residential schools for over a century. And advocates like Blackstock hope it will also prevent that history from ever repeating itself. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.